We all want, above all else, to be happy. Nobody wants to suffer, to experience lack or misery. You might say to yourself, I do not want to be happy. I wish to be free or always joyous. For my purposes, happiness, joy, and freedom are all different names for one and the same aim, that for which our hearts most long. And yet many of us are experiencing sorrows, griefs, in short, various forms of dis-ease. And so the question really is, how is it that we are going to be happy or joyful or free? There are two views that encapsulate, I think, the totality of options available to us. The first view states that happiness is contingent or dependent upon objects or some object or other, and is indeed the result of some object or objects. Therefore, there's a quest to discover and secure the right objects in order that happiness shall arise and shall abide. The second view, the one that I think is certainly correct, is that happiness is not at all dependent upon objects, is itself causeless and objectless, and is indeed inherent in our very nature. Let me come to the most common view, the first one first, and then we'll turn to the second one. Before I do so, I want to offer two stipulative definitions. By an object, I'm going to mean whatever it is that is subject to change. Therefore, wealth is just as much an object as a thought, or a nation state, which is an idea. And by happiness, I'm going to suggest that I mean establishment in desirelessness. I snickered there because that might not seem intuitive to you. It might not seem intuitive that happiness is the establishment in a state that is fundamentally without or beyond desire. But we'll see that as we come through this video essay. Now, the question then is, can any object, that which is subject to change, bring about an absolute end of my desire, of all desire? And the answer is going to be no. Let's take two cases. One, wealth, and two, health. Imagine that magic number that you would come to, and you would be financially secure for the rest of your life. I don't care how small or large that number is. Just imagine it now. Now, can that changeable object, whatever that number may be, bring about an absolute or utter or final end of desire? Clearly, it cannot. The number may change, or it may stay the same, but the desire itself is going to resume. time and time again. Now you might say, all right, but what's the problem with that? Desire is born of lack, and lack is obviously the absence of happiness. Hence, any account, now let's insert health, good health, will never be sufficient provided that it begins with a changeable object, because a changeable object is not going to bring about a state of desirelessness or changelessness. Hence, the whole pursuit of happiness, as we have called it in the United States, is headed in the wrong direction, insofar as it's heading toward and is dependent on some object or other. Contemplate this and then set it off to the side. That brings us to the robust view, which states again that happiness is not dependent on any object, that it is causeless and objectless, and that it is inherent in the very nature of our being. In lieu of arguing this case with you, because it would be indeed a lengthy argument, let me instead offer up a visualization or short meditation whose point and purpose is to give you a glimpse of this experiential understanding, the experiential understanding that your nature is happiness, and that happiness is free of lack, free of restlessness, free of disturbance, and thus can be said to be desirelessness itself. Here goes. Just recall or visualize the perfect place. Perhaps you're out in nature, perhaps you're at a beautiful home or a neighbor's house. Really go back to this time and place where you felt completely at home. You felt as if everything was meet and right, as if nothing was amiss. The breeze was just so, the bird song was just so, the trees swaying just so, the mountains, if there were mountains, or seas, if there were seas, were all just so. The company was wonderful if there was company, or the solitude was delicious. Feel that right now. Feel what it's like when everything is intuitively so as it ought to be. And now take away the visualization, but stay with the feeling you have right now. Really taste the feeling and allow all the colors, shapes, sounds, textures, and anything else that's been visualized to fall away. Hold on to the feeling, though. This feeling of peace, of home, of all the rightness. Now, even let that holding on to the feeling go and just remain here. Notice that this here is without any lack and therefore without any desire. It's being. And you're aware. And there's no difference between your being aware and being. And this awareness being is a glimpse of happiness. But it's not that awareness being points to happiness or is connected to happiness. No, it's closer than that, closer than close. It's rather the case that awareness being, awareness presence, or aware being is happiness, is freedom, is peace, is desirelessness. Stay here and be happy.